Hey everybody, this is Attorney Kenneth Stevens from the law firm Stevens PLLC, and today what I'd like to talk to you all about is the classification of a project as residential or commercial under Chapter 53 of the Texas Property Code that governs liens. Now, why is this important? Well, as many of you all know, whether or not a project is considered commercial or residential will dictate a lot of the deadlines under the Texas Property Code. Your lien affidavit deadline is determined by whether a project is residential or commercial. The notice deadlines for subcontractors are determined in part by whether the project is residential or commercial. So a lot of you look at these projects that you're working on and you make assumptions. You say, well, it's a single family house, it must be residential, or it's a duplex, it must be residential, or it's a retail strip mall, it has to be commercial. And you base your deadlines off of that. If you miss the residential deadline, you just kind of throw your hands up and you're done with it. However, the Texas Property Code has definitive definitions of what it considers a residential construction project. And sometimes, even though your project may appear to be residential in nature, it may be actually a commercial project for the purposes of Chapter 53 and the purposes of filing your lien. So, how do you know if your project is residential? You actually need to look at the Texas Property Code. So let's look at what the Property Code says. A residential construction project means a project for the construction or repair of a new or existing residence, including improvements pertinent to the residence as provided by a residential construction contract. So, what did we take from that? There were two things that jumped out at me: residence and residential construction contract. Guess what? The Texas Property Code, Chapter 53, has a definition for both of those. Let's look at what that says. Residential construction contract means a contract between an owner and a contractor in which the contractor agrees to construct or repair the owner's residence, including improvements pertinent to the residence. Residence means a single family house, duplex, triplex, or quadruplex, or a unit in a multi-unit structure used for residential purposes that is A, owned by one or more adult persons, and B, used or intended to be used as a dwelling by one of the owners. So, the biggest thing that I took away from that is the definition of residence. In order for a project to be considered a residential project, the work has to be done on a residence. And you just heard that the definition of residence requires that there be one or more adult persons and that they intend to use the property as a dwelling. So that eliminates a lot of projects, even though they're done on single family homes, quadruplexes, duplexes, triplexes. So I'll give you the perfect example. Let's say that there's an investor working on a flip. People flip houses all the time, and they buy the house and they put it under the name of some company or some corporation. Who owns the property? I can tell you who doesn't. Not an adult, or not one or more adults. It's a corporation. Or assume that maybe assume that it is a person. The corporation is counted as a person. Does that corporation intend to use that home as a dwelling? No, that's impossible. The corporation can't use the home as a dwelling. They're gonna sell the property. So what that means is the project, even though you worked on that house, you worked on that flip, that project is considered commercial in nature based on the definition of residence under the property code, which means you would actually have more time to file a lien if you're not paid on that project. So that's an example of why you need to really understand the type of project that you're working on, and a reason why you need to get into that Texas Property Code and make sure you look and understand it when you're getting ready to file a lien. Anyway, I hope that this is helpful. You all share it, and as always, happy building.
Introduce